Does it really get better after intern year? Or is it another moving goalpost? Yes, it does get better. At least that's my opinion. But some of the responses here: it'll get better when you're a senior. It'll get better when you're an attending. It'll get better when you retire. It'll get better when you're dead. That is very, very depressing. Anesthesiology does 1000%. I totally have seen that. After their intern year, dude, they're just straight chilling. You couldn't pay me enough to do IM for any longer than I was forced to. Intern year is something to be survived. Well, thankfully, there's people like me who like internal medicine for some reason. So we're covered in terms of people who are doing IM, I guess. Intern year was the hardest for me. Second hardest was third year of medical school. Third hardest was first year fellowship. As an attending, my life is glorious. I can totally see that. Intern year being hard. I also see some people saying second year is hard. Third year being the hardest in medical school is definitely the case, in my opinion, because it's the most out of water, or whatever that expression is, that most fish out of water feeling that you're ever going to have. And then first year fellowship, people say it's just like intern year over again. Glad to hear that attending life is nice though. So I realized this much later, but everything during intern year is time consuming and exhausting. Doing a consult, putting in an order, prescribing medication, you have to look up so many things. I would not have the energy to study. As the years go by, you start doing some of these things routinely and you have more brain power and energy left at the end of your day, even if the time you spend at work is similar. The responsibility goes up, expectations also, but I still think intern year was the worst. Totally agree with that. I think I've talked about this before, but I think there is this cognitive load, or this concept of cognitive load, where the more mentally taxing things that you're doing throughout the day, the more tired you get, obviously, and you deplete that load over time. But as you do things more and more frequently, it becomes more routine. And each time, doing a consult may have taken 10% of your cognitive load in the past, but now it only takes 5%. And then later it only takes 2%. So it gets a little bit easier every day. I thought second year was hardest. Internal medicine gets better after residency. Totally agree. I think a lot of people in internal medicine say that second year of internal medicine is the hardest because you gain a lot of responsibility in second year and you're in a completely different role. And it just feels like a lot more high stakes because now you're the senior of the team all of a sudden. But nothing's really changed that much since when you were, a June or May intern. I will say though that my schedule has been a lot better as a second year. And so I've liked that a lot. It definitely does for OBGYN, better each year until first year of attendinghood, which is weirdly scary as F. Then it gets better again. Also, fellowship is way better than residency. Reading comments here about IM year makes me scared shitless for what's to come. And I have 3 years of internal medicine. So this guy's going into internal medicine and they're clearly a fourth year medical student about to start residency in a few months. Don't be so worried. I don't know. I was pretty nervous when I started, but it's not, you'll get through it. It's fine. It was never really that bad. I don't know. Some people handled it differently. Some people didn't handle the pressure as much. I remember I really did not know what I was doing at the very beginning. Like, I just remember I was signing out and I was just like so nervous about signing out. Like, I didn't know if I was signing out patients correctly. But really, it's not that bad. You have a lot of support as an intern. And so you get used to it pretty quickly. At least my program did. Intern year, all calls on the floor were Q4. For my 2 seniors, all floor calls were Q5. The amount of scut you do drastically drops after intern year. And also the staff knows, geez, that's insane that they were doing so much call. Q4 call and Q5 call during intern year. Geez, it's just crazy. And then there's just that efficiency and confidence that simply comes with knowing what you are doing. An admission that made me want to die as an intern was a 10-minute project with much less mental effort as a senior. Definitely very true. I think I'm starting to get to that point where some things I'm clearly noticing are less mentally taxing, like when I'm doing a patient admission. During my last, my most recent night float, which was just the last couple of weeks, I think a lot of things were just going by a lot faster for me, which was nice. It was not nearly as taxing. Internal medicine, much better. I've been loving second year so far. No notes, discharge summaries, updating families daily. You take on more of a supervisor role and focus on the medicine. I will say that I still do notes and discharge summaries and updating families because interns are really busy. And so I like to take off as much of the workload as I can for the interns. And so, first of all, when they are off, then you are doing what's called res intern, which means you are acting as the intern and the resident on the same day. So you're doing all the notes for that intern and you're doing the discharges and whatever they need. But a lot of times interns need a little bit of help just getting the medication rec ready for discharge. And that just helps save them some time. And a lot of times I will call the families if they're particularly busy. And that was one thing that was really unclear for me when I was an intern, was like, who is supposed to call the family? Is it the senior resident, or is it the resident, or is it the intern? It's never really explicitly made clear a lot of the time. Cardiology fellow, PGY 5. Yes, life gets better. Finish intern year, it gets better. Pursue a fellowship, it's better than residency. I will say I disagree with that. From what I've seen, it does not look like fellowship is better than residency. Fellowship looks a lot harder than residency because, in residency, we have 30 people in my class. So if you have to call out sick, you're good. But if you're a fellow and there's only 4 or 5 fellows, you are SOL, and you're just going to have so much more call and so many more long hours and long schedules. And you have a lot more responsibility. So it's kind of, in my opinion, seems like most fellowships are harder than residency, if anything. One of the things that bothered me a lot during intern year was the lack of autonomy and respect for my medical decision making. As a senior resident, people listen to you more and you're free to make some larger decisions. I think that's definitely a good quality of life change, for sure. So I agree with that. God bless you, palliative docs. I can't talk to patients that long. When patients talk to me for more than 2 minutes, I want someone to put me on comfort care. Brought to you by Radiology Prelim Life. Don't forget the psych people. Their entire job is talking to people. I shudder at the thought. Psych here. Got a consult once for just patient wants to talk to somebody. Went to see what's up. No depression, no anxiety, no suicidal thoughts. Feeling mentally fantastic. That's a shitty consult, man. Surgery intern contemplating switching to rads. Title says it all. I'm an older surgery resident in my intern year, and while I love the non-toxic parts of surgery, the OR, and the majority of it, I find myself struggling to find the enjoyment when I'm dealing with toxic seniors and the ridiculous hours. I would also like to add that I had my first child, and I'm missing out on so much that it's been a real struggle. Is the grass really greener, or am I just dealing with pretty bad intern burnout? That's a tough one. Honestly, I think if he is already deciding this or considering this, it's probably a sign he probably should switch. I know a lot of people who switch out of surgery. It's a tough field. It's a big sacrifice. And as an attending, you're still going to be sacrificing family time as a surgeon. At least, there's people on Reddit who say the work-life balance is a lot better, which I definitely think it is. But I think they're just kind of used to it at that point. But surgeons, I think, are the most dedicated people probably in the hospital. Like, they're here long hours and they're here late into the night all the time. Yeah, this is what the first person says. If you are feeling this way, then I really doubt you would regret the switch. I totally agree. The grass is actually much greener in rads. Make the switch. I was also a surgical intern. Radiology has plenty of people who did just that. Start asking around and you'll be surprised what you hear. Is the grass really greener? Yes. Yes, it is. Rads resident, I am happy. Is the grass all green? Nah. As a radiologist, call is pretty brutal. It's like taking a step exam every day while answering a bunch of random calls every few minutes from the floor and from techs. It is fun though. I sit in a perfectly lit room on a $1,000 to $2,000 chair, sipping 3 coffees a day, and use a fancy computer. That sounds nice. My work is at 8 to 4. Oh my god, that sounds nice. What the hell? And it isn't a huge deal to be a few minutes late sometimes. Dude, that sounds so good. I wish I was like that sometimes. Resident wellness and brown nosing. I just hate when residents agree with administrative rules that are abusive to him. I was talking to my upper level and I said it's unfair to work long hours for so little pay, that the hospital should be able to survive without residents, so why do we need to work long hours? He then tells me it's good to work long hours for learning, and the attending agreed. I don't know how, but I want to dedicate half my time in my professional life to improving residency conditions. Trouble is, I don't want to go into academic medicine, and I don't know how to get involved in the private sector. That's probably my biggest struggle right now as well, is I have so many ideas, so many things I want to improve, and yet I don't know the right way to go about doing them. And I think probably part of it is I never really worked an official job before this, so maybe I'm just not good at navigating the corporate or bureaucratic structure, which is huge at big hospitals. I mean, you have no idea who you're even supposed to talk to. And that's something that honestly makes me feel like sometimes maybe a smaller hospital where everybody kind of knows each other may be advantageous. That being said, I also love working in the academic setting, and I really want to work in the academic setting. It's just a skill that I'm going to have to learn how to develop, is like figuring out who you're supposed to talk to and like what are the correct avenues for doing things. Because I made these EMR videos teaching everybody how to do admissions and discharges and how I do pre-rounding and how to write notes really quickly and efficiently. And if you've been following my channel, you may have seen those, but now I've had to take them down because the videos actually got reported. Anyways, my point is that I often don't know the direct avenue for going through things. And sometimes I do like doing my own thing, which is like why I like doing YouTube. But it's tough to figure out like what is the actual way to go about improving improving things. I feel like academic medicine attracts the exact type of person that shouldn't be teaching, and partly why working conditions for residents still suck. Obviously exceptions, but IM and surgery seem to be riddled with bad eggs. I wonder what they mean by it attracts people who should not be the people teaching. I wonder what their reasoning is behind that, because I could see it attracting all sorts of people. But I mean, I guess I could see that he's saying maybe it's attracting people who don't want to work and just want the residents to do the work for them, because that could be a potential reason somebody wants to do academic medicine, even if they're not saying that. But I think it does attract a lot of people who do want to teach also. Hospitals are corporations that exploit trainees, organize, unionize, universalize healthcare. Honestly, I think the unionizing is a very huge thing. It's definitely something that needs to be pushed out more throughout the rest of the nation until we can all form one cohesive unit, because every other labor force in the country pretty much has a union, as they should. Universalizing healthcare, I think, would be nice for just logistically, like figuring out all this insurance BS takes so many people, takes so much brain power. I never know if a patient's going to be covered for something. Universalizing it would be beneficial, because I also think that it would help all the hospital systems connect better together, because like think about all the times a patient comes from a different hospital and you have none of their records. So I don't know all the like economic side effects of universalizing healthcare. I haven't really looked into that much, but I think just from a logistical standpoint of like me doing my work as a doctor, it probably would be beneficial and make things a lot more streamlined. I mean, I agree that we should be paid more, shouldn't be treated like note piggies, and should be treated with some decency, but come on, this subreddit always becomes an echo chamber of we need to work less. I don't agree. Procedural specialties need the experience from the hours they do, and many times you are working as much as attending in terms of hours. Yeah, I agree with that. I honestly do feel like the time that we spend is probably warranted a lot of times. A lot of times I do feel like we need to be working this much, but it would be nice if, you aren't always kind of the bottom of the totem pole. Because like, I feel like as a third year medical student, you're the bottom of the totem pole. Then as an intern, you're the bottom of the totem pole. And even as a resident, you still feel kind of like the bottom of the totem pole half the time, just like based on the whole hospital hierarchy. I think the biggest thing is, if we could be compensated more appropriately for the level of expertise we have and the number of hours we work, I think that would be probably a really good way to improving wellness overall. That's my r/residency update for this week, this day, whatever. I think it was fun to kind of review things and give my thoughts on a couple of things. I always find it nice to go through r/residency to kind of just like see what other people are going through and know that like you're not the only person going through these same thoughts and feelings. Like there's definitely other people out there doing the same thing. Let me know what your thoughts are on some of those topics. I thought it'd be fun to do like a little more casual video, try and get myself back into the groove. I'm going to make some talks soon, hyponatremia. I want to do preoperative risk stratification, stroke, a lot of things. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.